Enlightenment is the state your soul has before it came here. You avoid all of your soul's growth by avoiding the human blindfold. There is a misunderstanding of enlightenment. It is not information. It is awareness. It is a state of being that one only reaches through acceptance of that which one cannot accept. There is power here that only the experience is able to access. This is why you have the human struggle. Enlightenment helps you find peace with the struggle. There is a shift of perception that takes place. When you become enlightened, when you become into that other state and you're working from your higher realm, you move from looking at life and the world as being the chess pieces. You're the king, you're the pawn, you're all of those pieces, and you're getting played. You're getting played, and you think, yeah, sometimes I got it, sometimes I don't. It's just happening. Sometimes, and you're looking at the world outwards. And you're looking at it, and you feel as though you're getting moved, and you feel as though this person's doing that, and that person's doing this is happening here, and that's happening there. The shift that takes place is that you realize that you are not the perception of the chess piece. You realize that you are the God self, that you are the chess player. Now this is an experience that is, you can't explain it for somebody to understand it. It's when they actually experience it. The key that they want you to understand is enlightenment is not the information that comes into the mind. It's the information connected to source that comes out of it. Because this is what the mind wants to try and do. It wants to try and hold you through information, knowledge, information. That's how I'll keep you. And again, I want to repeat what they said here. Enlightenment is not the information that comes into the mind. It's the information connected to source, which is you, your higher self, that comes out of it. You do not fill your mind with information. You clear it to access information outside of your human self. That is the whole point of why meditation is used to become enlightened. It's only about clearing the mind, and acceptance is that key. Every moment that you become into acceptance and you be here and now and accept what is, you take yourself out of past and future, fear and worry and stress, and you take yourself into peace, clarity, understanding. That's the key. It's only perception. Remember, the events of your life are planned. It's how you experience them that is your growth. So every time you are aware of, I'm afraid of this, that's triggering me, and you go into it and you say, well, why am I afraid of this? Why is this triggering me? That's your key again. That's your power. Your power is in your control of how you experience the things that are happening in your life. I don't have the key. You have the key. The key is your higher self. And this is where an understanding is, you don't get to some place. You don't just get there and, you're all enlightened and it's all fantastic. And it's not that we get to the highest level of soul of so many lives and we're there. That's not the point of this. The point of this is experience. It's easy to be enlightened when you're sitting in the mountain on a hill. It's bringing that and applying it into the depths of the deep oceans of the human life. That's the true enlightenment. That's the true use of that awareness. And I say use as in it's a tool. You're still living the human struggle, but how you perceive it changes. You're no longer perceiving it that it's out of your control, that my higher self is doing this to me. It's not. You are your higher self. You're no longer living life through the perception of our closed ego self, which we all have, and we have to have it because it's a purpose of our awakening. You turn around and you're actually operating your life through your higher self. You understand why things are happening. You understand, you're looking at it and you're seeing, okay, well, that move's going to end up with checkmate. So let's try this move instead. So it's about understanding that you are playing the game, your life. You are playing your game. You are playing the game of your life. And you still have those bad moves. You still have those struggles. You still have those things. But you're no longer feeling in fear and pain about them. You're feeling in peace and acceptance about them. And that's the shift. That's the change. Acceptance is the key. And acceptance, all of us hold that key. I came out of the shower and Nathan was coming into the bathroom and I was having flashbacks about when I was working in Singapore. I was a top trainer over there, yet I was living out of hotels, I was living out of people's places because it's so expensive over there. It was a tough, hard life, very, very hard life. The hot, humid weather, you're riding 10 horses a day in hot, humid weather, it's horrible. But, from the outside it was, oh yeah, no, you were a coach in Singapore, this was great. And in my past, I have looked back at those times. I've looked back at those hard years in Germany. I've looked back at those hard times when I had nothing. And I often thought, oh, I'm so glad I'm not there. I'm so glad I'm not doing that now. But for the first time, I came out of the shower and I said to Nathan, I said, you know what, honey? I was just having flashbacks about Singapore. And for the first time, I was feeling, wow, I'm so glad I experienced that. So glad I had that time. So glad I did that. It was just this pure appreciation for those struggles in my life, for those experiences that I had in my life. I'm so glad I had them. From looking back at those times and wishing that things were different, or if I knew something, no, because then I would have missed out on all of the experience that I had that got me to where I am now. The understanding that I have now, the peace that I have now, was because of those struggles, was because of those times, and the ones that I might have in the future as well. Even though the soul comes and learns through human lives, thousands and thousands of lives, after that, the soul goes on to different planes and learns elsewhere in different planes. It's never ending. I shared this quote I wrote a long time ago. There is no finish line. Life is the experience and fear is the force of growth. So there is no finish line. There is no, I'm going to get there and then I know it all and then it's all great. There is a hidden ego drive within your human self to always be where you are not. Either in the past that it perceived was better, or in the future that it perceives will be better. It is found in the drive to make it or to get there. And we all have this. And this is what's the matrix is, this drive where we've got to succeed, we've got to get there, we've got to make it. And then there's the one thing after that, then there's the next thing after that. And it's draining us, it's tearing ourselves down, but it's also draining and tearing this planet down. So they wanted to make a special focus on this part as well, because how it's affecting us individually, they said it's what's currently affecting this entire planet. And there is no finish line. Life is the experience and fear is the force of growth. Enlightenment is being here and now. Acceptance of each moment as it is, without judgment. And the judgment is the mental self. But at the same time, understanding and feeling, knowing why something is affecting you, is that growth. Instead of blaming it as good or bad, understand it. Understand, okay, this is making me feel a certain way. Why does it make me feel that way? It's not necessarily a bad thing that it makes me feel this way, it's just making me feel this way. Breathe and find peace in life. And that's what everybody needs today, is to breathe and find peace in life. They said you always have full access to everything you need to know. You always have the help your human self needs, but the resistance to what is blinds you temporarily from it. And this is where we have this struggle, is where the resistance of now, the resistance of what is happening right now. This, I wish this wasn't happening. I wish this wasn't this way. I wish I knew more. I wish that's the resistance. What the mind thinks it needs is very often not what the soul intends to experience. There are material things in our lives that are not matching what the next path our soul is wanting to take. Now, I'm not saying that people have to do what I did. I had to close my business. I lost all my business. I'd worked since I was 16 for everything. Lost my belongings, my home, everything. Ended up losing everything I had worked my whole life for up until I was 30 years old was gone, absolutely gone. I left for Malaysia with 2 suitcases, small little bags. Everything else I gave away. But that was after I made the spiritual shift. That was after I let it go. The thing was, I was sitting with this business in Australia, this training stables that I had, this enlightened equestrian, this path of teaching people enlightenment through dressage. You know, I had this dream, this vision. I had the property, the 20-acre property, the white weatherboard house. I had the stallions there. I had the thing. I had everything. I had the courses going, and I knew in my heart, this has got to work. This is fantastic. You know, I knew the universal laws. I'd been taught them by a martial arts master. I knew the law of attraction. I knew all these things. I can make this work. I've got control over this. I can do this. I can do this. The further I went down this path, the further it was a struggle. The further it was, we're getting into debt. It was growing. I had 25% growth every year, but our expenses grew at the same time. Staff got paid, horses got fed, my animals got fed. I had never, in 5 years, no holidays, wearing underwear with holes in it. Me was depleted. I was depleted. But I had this dream, and I thought, I know how to make this work. I can do this, I can do this. But the further I went down this track, of this mental track of control, I know how to do this. I've read hundreds of books on spiritual laws, on everything. I had that stuff. I wanted to make this whole spiritual equestrian business work in Australia, and I had the German dressage training behind me. I had everything that on paper that looked like it was going to work. But the further I got down it, the further it was not working. So I was sitting there, if I could just get this, working, how can I make this work? How can I have this, I was going to psychics here and there. I was speaking to business people. I was doing everything that I could possibly do to get this working, because my heart knew this is my dream. This is what I want to have working. But it wasn't what I was meant to be doing. It wasn't what I was meant to be learning. And the shift from that was when the day that I had to let that all go. Again, I'm not saying that people need to let go of their entire belongings and their entire things in order to understand this, but the guides want people to understand that there is an outer world in the human world that also needs to shift and change as your soul starts pushing through. And that soul starts pushing through and saying, I want to live life. I want to play the chess game. So it's your soul starts coming through and saying, I want to push through the clouds of the mind. I want to start being aware through this life. I want to come out of the matrix, basically. To do that, it has to also let go and relinquish of the things that the mind held on to. What are you afraid of losing? What are you afraid of letting go? What are you afraid of that will no longer be your identity anymore? My biggest and worst identity was My car. I had worked so friggin' hard for this Jeep Grand Cherokee. Finally I had this 4-wheel drive that I thought, gee, I have made it. In the end, when I closed up the business, the car was sitting in my driveway in the house that I was staying in while I had relinquished everything. And the bank person was always at my door nearly every day. She was there, she was there, she was there. And this was when I was learning about relinquishing my fears. I knew that outside was a reflection of my inside. I had to deal with my own inner fears in order for the outside to go away. So there was no food for a very long time. There was a whole winter with no eating. I was meditating. I was drawing in white light, and I lived off 3 meals a week, and I was perfectly fine. The meditating took away the cold. I didn't feel cold anymore. I was absolutely fine. The one thing though that I just kept resisting against, I didn't want to let go of my car, was my identity, still part of my identity. I've made it. Who am I if I'm not a horse trainer? Who am I if I haven't made or just got my horse business and done all these things? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And this is the question, the key to all of this, because this is the source coming through. It's not the human self of what you've created and what you've done. The human self is far outreaching the truth of who you are. This woman was at my door every single day until I realized that I need to stop arguing with you. The moment I stop arguing with you, you're going to go away. And literally, I closed the door and she never came back. I then got out of nowhere an offer through the universe to go to Malaysia. They paid for me to go over there. I went over there, asked me to come and coach one of their riding teams over there. I went and coached one of their riding teams. Nobody had any idea who I was. They just knew I rode some dressage. So I was over there doing some free coaching for this riding school. By the time I came back, I had made peace with, okay, I'm going to have to let go of this business so I can move on with my life, because I can't repay the debts. And at the same time I made this decision, one of the people that we owed money to, they were sitting in millions of dollars of debt. They had a very big business, and they basically were trying to send me to court. And because there was no money there, they forced me into bankruptcy, which is called basically liquidation. I had to bankrupt because I couldn't go to court because I had nothing. I had nothing. I had everything. At that point in my life, I had more than all the money in the world. But the car sat in that driveway after the business was liquidated. That means all the companies that the business owed money to, which was not very much. Basically, our business did not owe very much money. It was, I had paid off $60,000 off my own back off an $80,000 car. I only had $20,000 left on it. I owed from our business, there was $15,000 that we owed, but I couldn't pay, this back on my own back. It wasn't huge amounts of money, but I couldn't do it. And this car, we ended up in the end, I was in Malaysia and on the telephone, my sister said, your Jeep, it's still in the house. How are we going to get rid of it? And I said, you need to ring up the bank and tell them to come and get the car. Your soul self has more control over your life's needs than the human fear self does. Now, I'm going to say this again because this is the fear that we all sit in. How do if I don't have money, how am I going to eat? How am I going to clothe myself? How am I going to have warmth? How am I going to have shelter? I was one step away from living off the streets. And even if I did have that, I still would be here. It's about understanding that those things do not control your life. Your soul self has so much more power than the small ego human self feels it has. But that's what drives us. We sit in this fear. We sit in this fear of what if.
Right.
Yet it's not actually happening. And that's remembering that when you are sitting in this what if, that's the fear ego mind. Remember what it said here. The fear ego mind is always going, there is a hidden ego drive within your human self to always be where you are not. Either in the past that it perceived was better, or in the future that it perceives will be better. It is found in the drive to make it or to get there. That drive, that fear, that mode is always taking you away from the key. And the key is acceptance, right here, right now. And every time you connect with that, you see the way out. It's not the information that's coming in that's going to free you. Remember, it's the information that comes out that's going to free you. Mm-hmm. You see the way out. I no longer saw my business as being my savior. This, when I make it, I'm going to have the money, I'll be secure, then I can leave, then I can go back to Europe, then I can go and do what I want. That business was not my key. But it's the experience that we are here to have. It's the experience of getting it, not the mind understanding it and the mind knowing it. It's the heart understanding it and the heart knowing it. And that's why we sit in these struggles that we are in, until we understand it, until we feel it, until we change from here, not change from here. Remember, the power is in the outside is a reflection of the inside. So you need to understand the fear, connect with the fear first. You've got to own the fear. Don't pretend that it's not there. It is there and it is real. And you've got to respect it and you've got to honor it, because it's the growth that your soul came here for. Now remember, there's two ways. Your ego will use that fear and keep you in control. Fear-based control of stress, fear, worry, got to get out of this, got to get out of this. Where the soul uses it to liberate. The soul uses it to transform. So when you sit there with that bill in your hand and it makes you feel sick to the stomach, because I've been there, and you don't know where you're going to pull money out of the universe for to pay that bill, that's your power. That is your key, in that sick feeling in your stomach right there. When that sick feeling, when you own that and you go there and you feel that and you take control of that and you let that feeling transform itself, you watch the events outside of you start transforming themselves as well. You'll start to step out. You'll start to take those changes that you were avoiding, that you were sticking to that one box, that view down there, thinking, well, if I could just renovate, generate more revenue, more income, I can keep my box. I can keep the world I've created. But what you're not realizing is that the world you've created does not match the world you've started creating on the inside. The moment you start awakening, the moment you start opening up. And that little world you've created is time for change. And so it's understanding that feeling in here, or taking ownership of that feeling in here, and starting to allow those changes to happen on the outside. So when there is things coming at you, they're repeatedly coming at you, instead of trying to avoid them, I need to get more money to pay that, I need to get more, so ask yourself, well, how can I let that thing go? How can I change that thing? I don't really need that thing because it's not matching me right now. What is my fear? Why am I attached to this thing? Why do I need that car so much? I spent a year and a half going through every single thing that went sick to my stomach of what was no longer matching me in my life from the outside. And I ended up letting it all go willingly. Not because I told myself you should let this go, but I did only let go of things when I felt ready for them, when they no longer matched me. When you transform yourself, you'll find that you do let go a lot of materialistic things. And then you'll slowly get things coming back into your life, but it will be things that you really love. Not you feel you need to be something. Not you feel you have to have an identity. That's the biggest key in all of this. You switch your identity self from your external, how other people, how the world sees you, and you switch it to your internal, from your soul. You see yourself through your soul's eyes. You're no longer seeing yourself through the limited mind's eye, which we come in and we create. Yes, you may let go of, we have this spiritual transformation, and You know, we all, like me, I left with 2 bags of clothes. I wore only white for 2 years and was living in hot country, so I had hardly anything. No jewelry, no makeup, nothing. I still don't wear makeup, and I only wear just a little bit of jewelry now, but because I want to, because I don't feel I need to make myself look something. I'm no longer feeling judged by the outside world because I'm no longer judging myself. I'm loving me slowly for who I truly am, this beautiful body that I brought into this world with me. When you are letting go of the material world around you, this drastic change that happens is because if you're shedding the ego, mental mind self that you have about yourself, and it's just matching that. So this real world that you're sitting in of this, I've got bills to pay, I need food to eat, I need a roof over my head, all of these things, they are changing. They are all shifting just as they are shifting right now for this entire planet. Not everybody needs the 5-bedroom house and the big 4-wheel drive. We don't have a planet that can sustain that. Awaken. We are also awakening to the fact that our ego's needs that we've been taught we have to have is not sustaining us to live life anymore. It's draining ourselves and it's draining this planet. So the shifts and changes that you make within yourself will all be in alignment with the shifts and changes that we need for a thriving planet Earth that we live in together with all species and all things. This inner shift that we have, this spiritual transformation that we have, it naturally brings about changes of choices that are lining up with the same changes and choices that need to happen for planet Earth herself. It lines up with the planet Earth's choices and changes that she's making for herself. Our vibration will catch up with planet Earth's. She's already made her choices and changes, and as we enlighten, as we awaken, our own choices will start to change and transform that become in alignment with hers. So trust yourself. When we say trust, this is not about having faith and trust in something out there. It's about having faith and trust in you, in your fears, in where you are at in life right here, right now. Because that is the transformation that you're making that is affecting this entire planet. Don't avoid that. Don't pass that over to the side. Don't pretend or wish that that's not there, because that's the power that you have in changing this world. That's your key to enlightenment. For me, because I made such a drastic change, that I had a shift happen. There was a shift that took place. And I literally lost that monkey mind. I lost that monkey mind fear of thinking about everything else. I lost that. But that presence and remembering here and now, that is your entire lifetime you will work on it. Being conscious, that is a choice that you make every day. But there is a shift that does take place. That shift is that you realize you are not the chess piece, you realize you are the chess player. You realize that you are not working for something else, you are that something else. I think I was pregnant with the twins. We had Utopia, our little daughter, already there. I was as sick as a dog, vomiting every single day. Nathan couldn't go out and work because he was looking after Utopia and looking after me. We had €2 in our pocket, and that was it. I knew, not telling myself, I knew here in my heart, everything's going to be okay. But Nathan was in huge fear states, and he's often told me, share this with others. He was very, very afraid. Didn't know how many money was coming, what was going to happen. And I remember what was coming through from the guys at that time as well was that trust in the flow and the abundance of life. It's about learning that to live like nature. It's not storing things away. It's living with the flow of life. It's living with the seasons. There's times for growth. There's times for going within, and there's times for reward and receiving things. But to understand that that receiving is coming from life in many and very different forms. We got money from here or there. We got money from somebody else every now and then. It was about being honest with ourselves in our situation. And at the same time, we were receiving food from other farms. We were receiving clothes that was coming to us. We would receive wood. It's little things like that, so we could put the fire on. Little things that you didn't realize that, okay, I have to have money to get that. And you don't always have to have money. Money doesn't always fix everything. But it's about going from, I was watching the difference of me, I was having this feeling of trust of it all going to be fine. And I was watching Nathan on this roller coaster ride of this fear state. But he was practicing the same thing, that every time he was in this bad fear, he would hold it in himself. He wouldn't say anything for a while. And then I would start seeing him stress. And then I would pull him to the side and say, darling, how are you feeling? And he would finally open up and say, okay, I'm feeling really afraid. And we'd sit there, we'd go into the feeling, we'd meditate on it, and we'd move him through it. It wasn't the outside situation that changed first. It was the inside situation that changed. And every time after he would work on that, something would pop up at the door. But these are little things that are teaching us to be grateful, that are teaching us to be here, present and now. When your life changes and matches the spiritual side that's in you, you will find that your abundance is far greater than all the money you need right now to be living comfortably. Because I guarantee you, if you had all that money, you would still be stressed and feeling as though you've got to keep that money coming. We think, oh yeah, we made it, we got there. And then there's the stress of staying there. Oh, now I've got to keep this going. Now I've got to keep this coming. Now I've got to keep this happening. And life has seasons. That eternal growth is not sustainable for us, and it's not sustainable for this planet. It's about changing our cycles of how we live to become more in tune with nature itself. And that means how we live, even how we live will change. We will be changed, not because somebody's told us to, but because we want to. When you get to that place and you face those fears, you will start noticing that your desires change. The things you want change. And that's why it's so important to honor where you are at now, because you won't get to those changes unless you go through where you are right here, right now. Honor those feelings, understand those feelings. That's why your soul is here. It's for that growth, not for your external growth. Be here, be real, be right now with it, and then start to ask yourself, where can I let go? How can I match my outside with my inside? Basically, listen to yourself. Just remember that to your mind, you're feeling as though that's finished and then I've got there. There's then and there's this past and this future. I've learned this, or why can't I move it? It's not about that. That acceptance and understanding is learning that it's not about trying to get away from there and trying to get to there. It's about you're in it all at once. You're playing the entire game against yourself. You are the chess player playing the game against yourself, playing both sides. That is the key to then breathe and find peace in life, to accept where you are at. I had to sit there and accept that, crap, my business is about to close, my doors are going to close, I'm one step away from being homeless. I lost everything and I gained everything. I lost everything materially, but I gained my entire soul, my entire life. All the happiness, all the peace, all the joy, all the bliss, all the love that I have now in my life was because of the fears that I faced during that very, very, very hard time materialistically. the shift that does take place is that you realize that you're not the victim in this. You're not out of control in this. You realize that you have full control over it. And that's the empowerment in all of this. That's that being able to breathe and find peace in life. You need to accept your fears if you're sitting in that place. Trust them, go there, and then start to let go. I can't stress how important the guides keep screaming, let go. There are things on the outside of us that do not resonate with our new self that's coming out. Let them go.